if you remember the last time we met for class, we were working on this drawing. And I brought the parts into class. And a good portion of you actually finished the drawing. In any event, we're going to start from scratch today. And I'm going to assume that no one has even started the drawing. So we're going to start with a blank slate here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to set up our layers in AutoCAD. So we can go into AutoCAD. And then you want to open up your layers. So you can open up your layers either from your layers toolbar right here, or from layer properties here. All you have to do is double click, click once. And you can see here, I already actually added 4 additional layers. The way that you add layers is to simply click right here. Again, we've talked about this. The presumption is that's a plus sign. Good luck to any of you who can actually see that, but it's the stack of layers that has the orange symbol, looks a little bit like a sun. So you want to click on that 4 times, and you can then add 4 additional layers. So layer 0 we're going to leave as it is. We'll call it layer 0. Oftentimes that will be renamed actually the object layer, and that's pretty much the drawing layer within your drawing. We can leave it right as layer 0. The color we're going to leave as white, and line type is continuous. On layer 1, we're going to rename this, and we're going to rename this to construction. Or in this case, I'm just going to call it CONST. We're going to leave that as a continuous layer, and we're going to change the color to a dark gray. The reason I use dark gray is so that it's visible, but if you leave the construction layers on, it won't be so bright that it will confuse you and make you think that it's part of the drawing. So we'll leave that one as dark gray. By the way, at this point, if you have a grid in your drawing background, you might want to get rid of that. And the way that you do that is down here in the lower right center, where you see this little checkerboard pattern. You can see we can turn the grid on and off. Since we're essentially sort of putting in our own grid, we can delete the grid here. So we put in the construction layer. And I'm just going to check the color again. Yeah, that is the dark gray and not the black. It actually looks black here. I think I'm going to change it one shade lighter, since it does look almost the same as my background as I look at it here. I'm going to click OK. Okay, layer 2. Layer 2 we're going to rename to dimension. And by the way, if you've already done your print, you may have the layers name somewhat different. You may have the colors somewhat different. That's perfectly all right. You can leave it as is. So the dimension layer, dimensions, our color is also going to be continuous. Although we need to change our color, make sure that it's not white. In this case, I'm going to choose red. And again, red is a color that doesn't show up too brightly. It helps us easily distinguish dimensions from drawing items. Layer 3, we're going to rename this to center. And the center layer, or this the center mark layer, is typically the same as a dimension layer. And the reason it's the same as the dimension layer is because it's giving you the same type of information, or it's giving the machinist the same type of information. So it's information that's not actually part of the drawing, but it's related to how the drawing is to be made. So in this case, we are going to make the color red to make it the same. However, here we have to change the line type. So we're going to open up the line type. And you've all done this before. We click on load. And we're going to choose center 2. Again, just as a reminder, center 2 has the spacings closer together. The long dash, narrow, small dash, closer together than center. And center times 2 has them actually farther apart. So if you have a drawing that has very large dimensions, you might want to use center times 2. In this case, we're going to use center 2. So we choose center 2 and click OK. And then while we're here, let's add in the hidden 2 layer. Because that will be the next layer that we're going to be adding in our drawing. So we add in hidden 2 and hit OK. Now finally, we actually have to choose the center 2 layer. So we're going to go ahead and choose center 2 and we hit OK. And as we can see here, when we look at line type, we see that we've chosen center 2. Finally, we're going to go to the last layer here, and we're going to name our last layer the hidden layer. So we're going to rename that, choose rename, call it hidden. And then you can choose whatever color you like. Oh, excuse me, my colors always show up on my second monitor. So I kept clicking. I'm going to choose green. And then for line type, again, the window is showing up on the second monitor. We choose the hidden 2 and we click OK. So now we have our line types all set up. Once this is done, we can just close out of this, and now we're all set to start our drawing. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in our construction lines. So in order to do this, we're going to go on to our construction layer. So we have the proper construction line set up. And our construction line is different from the standard line that we've typically used. The construction line automatically puts a line of infinite length, so it goes all the way across the screen. It'll cover the complete size of your workspace. Before you do that, before you start, check where this XY is. Make sure you're not starting your construction line exactly where your XY is or where your 0, 0 is. And the reason you want to make sure you do that is to prevent yourself from having that XY be in the middle of a part that you're creating, because it will actually make it more difficult for you to create that part if the XY is there. Okay, so I'm going to just click on construction line, and I'm going to go in the middle of my drawing, and I'm going to make a line across the horizon. And then I'm going to make a vertical line here. And then I'm going to hit escape and stop. So now we have a point where we have a horizontal line and a vertical line. I'm going to pan this so it's about in the middle. And again, right now, I really don't know what my dimensions are. I'm going to find that out in a second. And if you remember, what I had you do in class is we created multiple construction lines by starting at this point and then either doing an object snap or just moving over a certain distance to create other construction lines. I'm going to show you a different way to create additional construction lines. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our offset. Before we do that, let's take another quick look back at our original drawing. So if I look back at our drawing here, and what we're going to set up is our XY, the intersection of that XY is going to be here. So if you notice right here, the dimension of this part is 3 inches, and then approximately 3 inches above that, 2.5 inches above that, we have the upper piece, and then about 3 inches below that, we have the lower piece. So let's say they're both 3 inches. So what that means is we're going to want a horizontal line that is 3 inches plus 3 inches, or 6 inches higher. And then in this dimension, if we're going to just put that second horizontal line here as opposed to the bottom, it could just be 3 inches lower. So we want a horizontal line that will be 6 inches higher and 3 inches lower. So let's go back to our drawing. I'm going to escape out of the pan here. And I'm going to choose my offset command. So if you remember the offset command, it'll let me create an offset. So once I click on offset, it defaults with an offset of 1. Remember I said I wanted an offset of 6 inches, so I'm going to type 6 and hit enter. Once I select the object, so I'm going to select this line. And then I'm going to move in this dimension and put my offset. Now, if you notice, you didn't actually see the line. And the reason is because it was too far away. Because my drawing zoom was zoomed too large. But it did actually put the line in. And we can check this and check the size of the length by using our ruler, coming over here. And we see that we're at 6 inches. Now we can put our second offset in. We can go 3 inches lower in the same way. So we hit offset. It's going to default to the last number we had, which was 6. We want to change this. We want to type 3 and enter. Select the object to offset here. And now you can see it shows us the line. So it shows us the line, and now we hit enter. And by the way, you may have noticed this. The XY now has popped up here. It seems that in putting in the offset, I actually put that first 6-inch offset lower, so that this was actually this was our original intersection. That doesn't actually matter. This XY will still be out of the range of our drawing. So that's okay. But now we have our points where we're going to put in the pieces of our drawing. We do want to center this a little bit. So if we put it here, so we'll have one piece that will go here, one piece that will go here, one piece actually that will go here. The next thing we want to do is put in the lines for the drawing on the left and the drawing on the right. So let's go back, take a quick look at our drawing here. And what we can see is that we have maybe about 3 inches on this side and 3 inches on this side. So the thickness of this drawing is, well, it's about 2.1 inches. We can call it 2 inches. And let's actually maybe call this 4. So if we wanted to put that line here, we would move this over 6. And if this is 4 and we wanted to do 3, we would move this over by 7. And just to make things easier, since we see on this drawing, we have plenty of room on this side of the drawing and on that side of the drawing, let's just make them both 7. So I'm going to come back to AutoCAD, and I'm going to choose my offset. I come down here, and I'm going to type 7. Now I'm going to choose this line. And you can see we can put in a line on either side. So we'll put that one in. And then we can actually continue on. We don't have to start over. We're at the offset. If we look down here, we're at the offset point already. So we can select another object to offset. That's 7 inches. So we can just select. And now we have one over here. We hit enter. And now we have our grid. I'm going to stop the video at this point, go ahead and save it, and take this up, the creation of the drawing with a subsequent video.